One of the things we often forget about the ancient past is that in some time periods, certain cultures were also fascinated by that which went before. During the Neolithic and Bronze Age, considering that some burial sites were reused repeatedly for hundreds or even thousands of years, it's quite likely that ancestor worship played an important role in people's lives. In the ancient Greek world, memorializing Bronze Age heroes through legends and monuments was not only a prominent feature of society, but it also helped with politics. If a conquered region wanted to ingratiate itself with an ancient Greek leader, it simply created a backstory for the history of its people that sounded familiar to them. There are many examples like this, but this week I came across a paper published in the journal Scientific Reports that discusses the earliest example of large animal fossil hunting discovered at a Mycenaean site. This shows that this Bronze Age Aegean civilization was fascinated by fossils and what this might mean for its history. In this week's Ancient History News, I discussed this paper along with the excavation of a large stone slab featuring 123 glyphs at the Maya city of Koba and the discovery of a cult temple in an Etruscan necropolis in Tuscany. Evidence of large animal fossil collecting found at Bronze Age Mycenae. Scholars have long thought that fossils inspired the mythology of ancient Greece, and in turn the ceremonies, rituals, and symbols associated with it. The Greek traveller and geographer Pausanias, writing in the 2nd century, said that a large shoulder blade from Pelops at Olympia, a site close to rich fossil beds, was sent with the Greeks to support them in the Trojan War before being returned to Olympia, where it was displayed at the Pelopian shrine. Presumably, that means it was used as a sort of good luck charm. Another example is a late Corinthian column crater that was decorated with the monster of Troy, the image of which appears to have been inspired by a Samotherium fossilised skull. However, how far back in the Aegean region this interest in fossils goes is debatable. In Cyprus, pygmy elephant and hippopotamus remains have been found at Neolithic and Chalcolithic sites, but these are associated with places where the animals were probably killed and processed. Over the years, archaeological work on mainland Greece has found evidence that the activity of collecting fossils goes back as far as the late Bronze Age. However, the artefacts used in this research had questionable provenance. Antlers from extinct deer were found at a Minoan shrine at Knossos, but this is only known from an old report with little supporting information. A new study has reanalyzed a fossil originally found in a secure context in 1974 that is stored at the Mycenaean Museum, and in doing so has provided a more reliable date for fossil collecting. The fossil was excavated from a domestic building in the southwest quarter of the Mycenaean citadel, which had been abandoned at the end of the late Helladic period around 1200 BCE. This building was made up of 7 rooms which had been preserved at basement level. The fossil was found in room 3, which also contained debris from the floor above, which had collapsed. In the centre of the room, archaeologists found the largest collection of cone shells ever found in a late Bronze Age site in the Aegean. These had been intentionally placed in a crevice in the bedrock of the floor. Many of these had been worked and then filled with lead. 12 lead objects of different shapes had been deposited alongside them, as well as pottery sherds dating to between 1370 and 1230 BCE. The whole assemblage is thought to have been used for a game. The fossil came from the layer above this, which was the second deepest in the room and was undisturbed at the time of discovery. Other finds from this layer include fragments of coloured frescoes, blue pigment, a large lead disc, a black steatite disc, 16 clay fragments of figurines, flint, obsidian, colourful stones, stone discs, and part of a pig's tusk. Some of these objects have been tentatively interpreted as markers for games, grinding surfaces for the working of shells, and weights. Upon discovery, the fossil was labelled as a large stone object of irregular shape, probably unfinished or broken during shaping. The authors of the paper have examined it and identified it as a fossilised astragalus from the left side of a 2-horned rhinoceros. An astragalus is an ankle bone. An extensive analysis of the fossil and comparisons with others identified that it likely came from a Stephanorhinus hunsheimenisis, or a variant species of a Stephanorhinus etruscus rhinoceros. These species date to the early Pleistocene and can be found at sites local to Mycenae, as well as in the north of mainland Greece and Turkey. The fossil could have arrived by long-distance trade, since the Mycenaeans are known to have travelled and exchanged goods over a wide geographic area. Since the room where it was found had an outcrop of bedrock, a low corner bench, and small finds that excluded tools, and since it was in a domestic building, it's likely it was simply a storeroom. It may have been used to store or hide objects, including the fossil. Since astrogale were often used as dice in games or for divination, this particular fossil could have served either of those functions. However, it could also have been a weight, considering that it weighs 501 grams, which is equal to the ancient measure of 1 mina. Other objects discovered from the same layer have been interpreted as weights as well, which supports this idea. Or perhaps it was used as a magical object that gave good luck to a person or situation, or maybe it played a religious role. During the late classical period, fossils were often associated with legends of heroes and monsters, so it could be that such a tradition started much earlier. Since the fossil is similar to a horse astrolagus, the Mycenaeans may have associated it with similar symbolism such as warfare or hunting. It's also quite possible it was passed down as an heirloom. Heirlooms were certainly a feature of later Mycenaean contexts. Further research will be carried out on other legacy collections to gain more understanding of the role fossils may have played in late Bronze Age society. Stone slab discovered featuring 123 Maya glyphs. Archaeologists working at the Maya city of Koba on the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula have discovered a large stone slab inscribed with 123 glyphs. Located near the Nohok Mul pyramid, the stone slab originally formed part of the floor of a sacred pool. A full analysis hasn't been carried out yet, but so far it appears to describe the founding date of a town called Kerwitz-Nal, meaning Deer Mountain, on the 12th of May 569. It also mentions a previously unknown ruler whose name features the Maya god of lightning. The city of Koba, whose name means rough waters, was established in 50 BCE and was inhabited for more than 1,500 years. Its population is thought to have reached as many as 50,000 people. Lots of monuments, raised stone causeways, stelae, sculptures, and engravings have been found there over the years and are being restored by Mexico's National Institute of Anthropology and History. Researchers previously identified 14 rulers of the city, including 3 women, and further evidence for some of them has been found in the glyphs on the slab. The stone slab covers 11 square meters and has glyphs inscribed in a stylized script forming an L shape in order to fit the shape of the stone. The researchers will create a high-resolution 3D rendering of it in order to study it further and are in the process of restoring and preserving it. Temple discovered at the Etruscan necropolis of Sasso Pinzuto. A team of archaeologists has found a cult temple at the Etruscan necropolis of Sasso Pinzuto in Tuscany, Italy. The necropolis is made up of around 120 chamber tombs dating to between the 7th and 6th centuries BCE. Over the years, work at the site has yielded numerous rich grave goods, which have led researchers to conclude that Sasso Pinzuto was preserved for Etruscan elites. Recent excavations carried out of 3 mounds at the necropolis by the Centre for Ancient Mediterranean and Near Eastern Studies and the University of Naples Federico II have revealed the rectangular foundations of a cult temple which faces north-northeast. Measuring 6.2 by 7.1 meters, what remains of the temple is constructed from large stones. They also found polychrome clay slabs depicting ceremonies, processions, and banquets. Such slabs have been found at other burial sites and were thought to have been associated with a structure where funerary ceremonies were carried out. However, until now, none had been found. According to Professor Alessandro Nasso from the University of Naples, this temple will likely become a reference for funerary cults in other archaic Etruscan necropolises. That's it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. Thank you to my patrons and channel members for all of your support, and I'll see you next time.